Hamas and Israel agreed to extend the ceasefire for another 2 days. In Venezuela, social and political organizations participating in the Venezuela Toda campaign begin to close activities in preparation for the consultative referendum in the defense of the Esquivo. And in Peru, the Attorney General of the nation, Patricia Benavides, filed a complaint against Dina Boluarte for those killed by the police repression during the protests against her mandate. Hello, welcome to From the South. I'm Ana Rosabal from the teleSUR studios in Havana, Cuba. We begin with the news. Hamas and Israel agreed to extend the ceasefire for another 2 days. It also was announced that 20 Israeli hostages and 60 Palestinian prisoners will be released as part of the truce. Israel and the Palestinian movement Hamas have agreed to extend the ceasefire that began last Friday and had to end this Monday. This was reported by the Qatari Foreign Ministry, which, along with Egypt, is acting as a mediator in negotiations. The spokesman for the Qatari Foreign Ministry, Majid al-Ansari, on his X account, formerly Twitter, highlighted that within the framework of the ongoing mediation, an agreement has been reached to extend the humanitarian truce for 2 more days in the Gaza Strip. Although Tel Aviv has not yet confirmed the extension, Hamas has already done so, adding that the same ceasefire conditions will be maintained from the beginning to release of 10 hostages per day. After several days of truce in the Gaza Strip, the situation in hospital is far from getting better. Our correspondent Noha Racine has more details in the following report.
If you think that the truce in Gaza gave the hospitals here a break, we are very wrong, because the situation in the hospitals is actually really bad and worsening. The reason why, over the past 4 days of the truce, the paramedics and the civil forces have been gathering and evacuating more bodies. According to the civil forces, 150 bodies, dead bodies, were brought out of the rubble and brought here to the hospital. At the same time, we're talking about hundreds of patients that are now evacuating hospitals in northern Gaza, like Kamal Udwan Hospital, the Indonesian Hospital, and Al Ma'madani Hospital. All of these injuries are actually evacuating here to hospitals in middle and southern Gaza, like Al Nasser Hospital and Shuhada Al Aqsa Hospital. Adding to all of this, the fact of the lack of medicine and medical supplies in the hospitals, even though medical aid entered the Gaza Strip over the past days. However, the amount that was delivered to the hospitals in Gaza is not enough to meet the needs of the people, the patients, and the doctors to treat their patients. Noor Harazin, teleSUR.
In Spain, Foreign Ministers attended a meeting of EU members, a Middle Eastern and North African conference that focused on diplomatic efforts to stop the Israel-Palestine war, called for greater efforts to reach a permanent ceasefire. Palestinian Foreign Minister Riyad al-Malki made a plea to extend the current ceasefire in Gaza that was due to expire on Monday. Israel declined to attend the meeting hosted by the Union for the Mediterranean and Church and the U.S. Foreign Policy Chief Joseph Borrell and Jordanian Foreign Minister Ayman Safadi. Participants discussed strategies to deal with the humanitarian catastrophe and try to reach a roadmap for the future of Gaza and the whole of Palestine. The forum promotes cooperation between the countries of the European Union and the southern shores of the Mediterranean.
That we have a deadline by the end of midnight, and after that Israel is threatening of going further, the destruction, the bombardment, the killing of Palestinians, especially in the south of Gaza, and we have to do our utmost in order to prevent that from happening. So this is really our responsibility, collective responsibility of today. We hope that we will succeed, but it's not really enough that we only make statements. It's that it's very important to make action, and this is really the responsibility, the collective responsibility of the international community.
Jordan's Foreign Minister Ayman Zafadi hoped the meeting will help bridge the gap between Arab and European countries on calling for a humanitarian pause in Gaza to become a permanent ceasefire.
What we're working for is for this pause to immediately develop into a permanent ceasefire. Inherent in the agreement that allowed for this humanitarian pause is an agreement that would extend it should more civilians be released. We support this. We have clearly supported that civilians be released, but again, you cannot have the whole people of Gaza hostage. You cannot have 2.3 million Palestinian hostage and subject them to the destruction and aggression that we've seen unfolding over the past weeks. So yes, we demand that this pause turns into a permanent ceasefire. We urge the international community to also push as hard as it can for this to become a ceasefire, because simply a ceasefire means that lives are saved.
The Iranian government recalled that the United States has no right to interfere in decisions in the future of the Gaza Strip. In a telephone conversation with its Turkish counterpart Recep Tayyip Erdogan, Iranian President Ebrahim Raisi called the United States responsible for the genocide in the Gaza Strip. Raisi further warned that any U.S. interference in the plan for the future of Gaza will amount to another crime against Palestinians. The Iranian president added that the people of Gaza should decide their fate. In the United States, a group of pro-Palestinian activists in New York City closed the Manhattan Bridge, calling for a permanent ceasefire in the Gaza Strip. During the day, demonstrators took to the streets under the slogan "Free Palestine and Let Gaza Live," blocking roads and bringing traffic into the city to a halt. The activists protested against Israeli siege against the Palestinian people described as genocide, in addition to demanding an end to the occupation of the Tel Aviv forces in the area. They also demanded that the U.S. government withdraw military aid and institutional support to Israel. Let's take a short break, but remember you can join us on TikTok at teleSUR English, where you find news in different formats, news dates, and more. Our study is coming up, stay with us. Welcome back. In Venezuela, social and political organizations participating in the Venezuela Toda campaign begin to close activities in view of the referendum in defense of the Esquiva territory. Campaign commands from all over the country mobilized in defense of the territory of the Guyana Esquiva at the beginning of the closing of activities for the popular consultation on December 3rd. In this sense, its participants in the public act throughout the nation pointed out the importance of leaving aside differences in order to defend the sovereignty and national peace. During the closing ceremony in Bolivar Avenue in San Carlos in Cojade State, the first Vice President of the United Socialist Party of Venezuela, Diosdado Cabello, assured that the imperial powers maintain a war against the country and affirmed that the Venezuelan people will continue fighting to defeat these pretensions.
It is a war against Venezuela by imperial powers. Organizations that should be impartial are aligned. Imperial forces are aligned. Oil transnationals are aligned. Those who historically have wanted to get their hands on Venezuela are aligned. This is not the first time that Venezuelan people have resisted, fought and won. I'm sure that we will continue to resist. We will continue to fight, and we will continue to win, because we are historically right.
Iris Varela, deputy of the Venezuelan Assembly, recalled that the December 3rd consultation is a historic event in which Venezuelans will be able to defend a homeland in a sovereign exercise.
For the first time in more than 100 years, Venezuelans of this historical time will have in their hands the possibility to really go out and exercise sovereignty to defend the homeland. And that is achieved by voting 5 times yes. For the first time in more than 100 years, Venezuelans of this historical time will have in their hands the possibility to really go out and exercise sovereignty to defend the homeland, and that is achieved by voting 5 times yes.
The president of the National Assembly of Venezuela, Jorge Rodriguez, in the closing ceremony in the state of appeal, calling the people of Venezuela to express their passion for the defense of the territory throughout the December 3rd referendum.
This passion, this emotion, this burst of patriotic love must be expressed next Sunday, December 3rd, by voting 5 times yes. Yes to the Geneva Agreement. We reject the arbitration award. We reject, we do not accept the jurisdiction of the International Court of Justice. We strongly reject that the thief of the government of Guyana tried to steal a sea that has not been delimited and that belongs to Venezuela. And very importantly, yes to the creation of the 24th state of Venezuela, the state of Guyana Esequiba.
In Venezuela, President Nicolás Maduro pointed out that the Monroe Doctrine, attributed to the American President James Monroe in 1823, is the instrument that has historically endorsed the plundering of sovereign nations. During an event commemorating the 103rd anniversary of the foundation of the Bolivarian Military Aviation, the president explained that based on the Monroe Doctrine, the Washington Treaty was signed in 1897 to constitute the arbitration tribunal that would decide the border controversy between Venezuela and the Kingdom of Great Britain. In addition to sponsoring the overthrow of Cipriano Castro and the imposition of the dictatorship of Juan Vicente Gomez, who implemented a policy of surrender to the benefit of the United States, the Venezuelan head of state asserted that the time has come for justice and not to resist unjust aggression of intervening governments.
We are going to celebrate the 200th anniversary of the Monroe Doctrine, to denounce it with a voice of rebellion and to confront it in all the fields where we have to confront the Monroe Doctrine. Because we are not and never will be slaves of anyone, slaves of the gringos, a colony of no one, independence or nothing. We say from Venezuela, independence or nothing.
The president of Venezuela, Nicolás Maduro, stated that the Monroe Doctrine served as an instrument for the British and U.S. empire to expropriate the territory of the Esquiva.
It was with the Monroe Doctrine that the British Empire and the newborn Gringo Empire conspired to take away our Esquivo, our Guyana Esquiva.
Fue con la doctrina Monroe que se firmó el Tratado de Washington en 1897.
It was with the Monroe Doctrine that the Washington Agreement was signed in 1897. It was with the Monroe Doctrine that the Paris Tribunal was executed, divided by the British Empire with its judges, and the Gringo Empire with its judges. It was with the Monroe Doctrine that the famous null, void, immoral, and illegal Paris Award was given in 1899. It was with the Monroe Doctrine that they overthrew General Cipriano Castro to impose a dictatorship of Juan Vicente Gomez. And hand over all the oil wealth to the gringos and the British. It was with the Monroe Doctrine that they executed the plan to cut off one arm of Venezuela in an attempt to take away our oil. And it is with the Monroe Doctrine that they intend to continue with their servitude and looting.
The Venezuelan president also called for unity and participation in the consultative referendum to be held on December 3rd.
Next Sunday, the 3rd of December, on a beautiful and blessed dawn, the people of Venezuela will have in their hands the possibility of making historic justice and expressing their will. expressing their sovereignty in this historic referendum, the consultative referendum to recover our Guyana Esquiva. So I call for national unity, civil-military union, libertarian union, independence union, so that Sunday will be a day of justice, freedom, independence, and a national holiday.
In Peru, the Attorney General of the nation, Patricia Benavides, filed a complaint against Dina Boluarte for those killed by the police repression in the protests against her mandate. These statements were made after the raid of her offices for allegedly being the head of a criminal organization and committing the alleged crime of influence peddling to the detriment of the state. Subsequently, the Supreme prosecutors demanded the resignation of the prosecutor for the same crimes for which she is accused. In this sense, Patricia Benavides reaffirmed that the deaths cannot go unpunished, and neither should the continuous abuse of power be allowed.
I have filed a constitutional complaint before the Congress of the Republic against the citizens Dina Boluarte Segarra, President of the Republic, Luis Alberto Atarola Peñaranda, César Augusto Cervantes Cárdenas, Víctor Eduardo Rojas Herrera, and Vicente Romero Fernandez for the alleged commission of the crime of aggravated homicide against Victor Raúl Santisteban and others, of serious injuries in aggravation of Renato Sebastián Urillo and others, as well as the preparatory investigations has been formalized against the direct perpetrators of said aggravations. Finally, the deaths of any Peruvian should not be allowed, as well as the abuse of power. It cannot be allowed to try to damage the image of honest prosecutors. The people are aware of this. That's why we have always proceeded according to the Constitution and the law.
On Monday's morning, National Police, in coordination with its special team against power corruption, raided illicit properties belonging to the public prosecutor's office in the district of Cercado de Lima, La Monina, El Agustino, and Jesus Maria. According to the investigations, Benavides would be guilty of leading an allegedly criminal gang and influence traffic. In this regard, reports indicate that the National Prosecutor had illicitly intervened in the removal of the National Justice Board, in the appointment of the Citizens Ombudsman, and the approval of political disqualifications. We have a second short break coming up, but before we invite you to join our WhatsApp community for our English-speaking audience. You can scan the QR code on screen to join directly and share the link to reach more people. Constant news, coverage of Latin America and the Caribbean, as well as the rest of the world. Stay connected and informed with teleSUR. Final short break, don't go away. Welcome back. Labor unions staged a day protest and strikers across the Czech Republic on Monday to voice their opposition to the government's package of cuts and austerity measures meant to keep the ballooning deficit under control. Labor unions also demand more money for education and health sectors and protest proposed changes for the pension system. Czech Prime Minister Petr Fiala said his government was not willing to give in because the measures are absolutely necessary. Mohimir Tufek, leader of one of the main labor unions, told the crowd that they have agreed that if there are no negotiations, there will be crowded streets, squares, blockades, and strikes.
It's just a protest. I think the unions believe that Parliament will solve the biggest problems of the consolidation package. So we were waiting for a democratic way to fix it. But unfortunately, members of parliament and senators choose a political solution instead of a common sense solution. The protest will certainly not affect the consolidation package, which has already been approved by both lower house and the upper house and signed by the president. But the current government should perhaps know that people don't like what's happening at the moment.
Atlantic Alliance Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg acknowledged on Monday at a press conference that despite substantial and considerable military support provided by NATO over the past year, Ukraine wasn't able to move to front line. Stoltenberg regretted that Russia has been underestimated, whose military industry is on warpath. He added that there is a very firm commitment on the part of the bloc member countries to provide military support and a wide range of types of weapons to Ukraine, despite the failure of its counteroffensive. Stoltenberg also noted the need to supply Kiev with air defense systems to protect the population, critical infrastructure, and the military industry. In mid-November, Stoltenberg said that the situation on the front is more complicated than NATO expected and stated that it is an argument in favor of continuing to support Ukraine to prevent President Putin from winning. In this way, NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg said on Monday that Ukraine needs to finish the war with Russia before joining the military alliance.
To say exactly what will be the decision at the Washington summit, all allies agree that in the midst of a war, full membership is not possible. But of course, we will continue to look into to address how we can move Ukraine and NATO even closer together as we prepare for the Washington summit. What decision we make there has to be addressed at the later stage when we are closer to the summit.
Russian authorities announced that the United States has supplied tax assistances to the Ukrainian armed forces. During the session of the Organization for the Prohibition of Chemical Weapons held in The Hague, the Russian Deputy Minister of Industry and Trade, Kirill Isogorsky, pointed out that they have strong evidence about the involvement of Washington and its allies in the supply of such substances. According to his words, such toxic chemicals are provided to the Ukrainian armed forces as well as to the foreign mercenaries hired by the Kiev regime. This comes on top of allegations that the United States is developing illegal biological weapons on Ukrainian territory. In Indonesia, authorities have issued a level 3 alert for a new eruption of the Anak Krakatoa volcano on the right side of the probe. According to the Center for Volcanology and Mitigation of Geological Hazards, 5 eruptions were recorded by noon local time on Monday, the last one with a cloud of ash about 2,157 meters above sea level. The agency said that intermittent eruptions with thick white smoke were still ongoing at an altitude of 20 to 200 meters above sea level. In view of the situation, the authorities advised the public to refrain from activities within 5 kilometers of the center of the eruption. We have come to the end of this brief, but before saying goodbye, we want to thank our Caribbean audience, especially the audience of Trinidad and Tobago. We are pleased to share our newscast and contribute to provide an alternative news source of the latest world events. You can find this and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net and join us on social media, Facebook, X, Instagram, Telegram, and TikTok. For Telesur English, I'm Ana Rosabal. Thank you for watching.